You have a list. Maybe it's written down somewhere, maybe it's just floating in your head, but it's there. The things you want to do, the projects you keep meaning to start, the version of yourself you keep meaning to become. And every now and then, you feel it, a burst of motivation. Suddenly, you're productive. You start the project, you go to the gym, you write the first page. It feels amazing, like you finally figured something out. Then the feeling fades, and so does the action, and you're back where you started, staring at the list, wondering why you can't just be the kind of person who follows through, wondering what's wrong with you. Here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with you. You've just been waiting for something that waiting itself prevents. Most of us operate on a simple, intuitive model of how motivation works. It goes like this. First, you feel motivated. Then, you take action. Feel it, then do it. Simple. So when you don't feel motivated, you wait. You wait for the energy to show up, for the mood to strike, for the stars to align, and that inner voice to finally say, okay, now you're ready. And sometimes it works. On rare days, the feeling arrives and everything flows. But most days, the feeling doesn't come and nothing happens. Your life becomes hostage to a feeling that rarely arrives and that you have zero control over. You're not failing to act. You're waiting for permission. Permission from a mood, from an emotion, from some future version of yourself who has it together. But what if this model is backwards? What if motivation doesn't work the way you think it does? For decades, scientists believed dopamine was the pleasure chemical, the reward your brain gives you after you do something good. This made intuitive sense. Do good thing, feel good. Simple. But this model was wrong. Researchers have now discovered that dopamine doesn't primarily reward you after action. It activates during action, and even before it. Dopamine is less about pleasure and more about drive. It's the neurochemical that says, this matters, keep going. Here's where it gets interesting. Scientists studying motivation in the brain found something they call a dopamine ramp. When you're about to do something, when action is imminent, dopamine doesn't just spike and disappear. It builds. It sustains. It creates a plateau of elevated activity that lasts as long as you're engaged with the task. This sustained dopamine release is what motivation actually feels like. It's the neurological signature of being locked in, of wanting to continue. But here's the catch. The dopamine ramp only activates when you start moving. When you're sitting still, waiting to feel motivated, there's no action for the system to support. The very feeling you're waiting for is the feeling that action creates. You're waiting for fuel that only gets released when the engine is already running. This isn't just theory. Therapists figured this out decades ago. There's a treatment for depression called behavioral activation. The core idea sounds almost too simple. Don't wait until you feel better to start doing things. Start doing things to feel better. Depression creates a devastating loop. You feel low, so you stop doing things. You stop doing things, so there's nothing generating positive experiences. No positive experiences means your mood drops further, which makes you do even less. The loop tightens. Behavioral activation breaks the loop by inserting action, even when the feeling isn't there. And it works. Studies show it's as effective as antidepressant medication for many patients. It's now recommended as a first-line treatment in clinical guidelines around the world. But here's what matters for you. The mechanism isn't unique to depression. It's how all brains work. The relationship between action and motivation runs both directions. Yes, motivation can cause action, but action also causes motivation. You can enter the loop from either side, which means you don't have to wait. You know, it was the same with me. While researching this, writing this script, refining it, editing it, once you start, the dopamine starts to flow. You get into focus mode. You go through long, sustained work sessions you didn't think you had in you. I was a victim of this trap too. I had dreams, just like anybody. I knew what I wanted to do. I even knew how to do it. But acting the wrong way, waiting, procrastinating, cost me. Not just wasted time, missed opportunities. Responsibilities I let slip. Relationships I neglected. Now, a quick but important note. This doesn't mean you should never rest. Burnout is real. If you've been running on empty for months, just start isn't the answer. Recovery is. But be honest with yourself. Most waiting isn't exhaustion. It's avoidance wearing exhaustion's clothes. If you're not sure which one you're experiencing, there's a simple test. Try starting for just 2 minutes. Genuine exhaustion will make even 2 minutes feel impossible. Avoidance will often dissolve the moment you begin. The waiting trap isn't about ignoring your limits. It's about recognizing when "I'm not ready" is just "I don't feel like it" in fancier language. Think about exercise. How often have you waited to feel like working out? Waited for energy, for motivation, for that magical morning when you wake up actually wanting to go to the gym? And how often did that feeling show up? If you're like most people, the answer is almost never. The feeling you're waiting for is rare and unreliable and completely outside your control. But here's what people who exercise consistently have figured out. You don't wait to feel like moving. You move, and the feeling follows. The energy doesn't come before the workout, it comes from the workout. The motivation doesn't precede the run, it emerges somewhere around minute 5, when your body warms up and your brain realizes, oh, we're doing this. Okay, let's go. This isn't willpower. It's not discipline. It's understanding how the system actually works. Motion creates the feeling you were waiting for. Think about your dad going to work. Does he wait to feel like it? Has he ever? So here's a hypothesis. The motivation you've been waiting for doesn't come before action, it comes from action. The dopamine ramp activates when you start moving, not when you feel ready. You don't have to believe me. You can test it. Tomorrow morning, pick one thing you've been avoiding. Something small. Not the biggest task on your list, just something you've been putting off. And do it for exactly 2 minutes. Not to finish it, not to be productive, just to start. 2 minutes. That's the whole experiment. Pay attention to what happens. Notice if the resistance fades faster than you expected. Notice if you want to keep going after the timer stops. Notice if the task feels different from the inside than it looked from the outside. If I'm wrong, you've lost 2 minutes. If I'm right, you've found something you've been looking for your entire life. You thought the problem was discipline, or willpower, or some fundamental flaw in who you are. It wasn't. You just had the sequence backwards. And now you don't. That's it. That's the whole thing. Start before you're ready. The rest takes care of itself.